I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We'd like to welcome Birbtender Jay. Hi.
Hey, hello. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. Please introduce yourself.
No problem. So my name is Jay. I'm a Blue Jay VTuber who runs the Gilded Cage, a Prohibition-era speakeasy. I'm a variety streamer, mostly doing strategy games. I used to do board games, but we stopped doing that a very long time ago. And I also do some collabs, some mostly cooperative shooters, and some model building.
Oh, yeah. What type of models?
So I used to start out with these wooden models. Mm-hmm. Later on, I switched over to Gunpla, so the Gundam models.
Ah, okay. How many of those have you got completed?
Ooh, I'm looking at my desk. I have to look at my desk for this. 4.
Well, that's all stuff I could never do. I'm too.
No interest, or?
Oh, the interest was there, but the coordination in hand-eye movement is not.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, some of it is precision work, I have to admit.
Oh yeah, well, I'm all switch-handed, so some things I do left-handed, some things I do right-handed, which is fine until you actually have to use them both at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And you don't really know what's that, and you don't know what eye to use for things, and it's a big mess up. I call it ambidextrous. I can drop things with both hands. It's very helpful for excuses when you drop the groceries or something.
I can understand. Must not have too much porcelain lying around your house then.
Oh no. Well, that and so many cats. There's no hope.
Understandable.
No hope at this particular point. The board games. Why'd you stop doing those? On just too much work?
No, so I actually changed names. I should probably mention that before. It did not used to be Burb Games. It used to be straight up J Board Games. It's a big interest of mine, and I found some digital adaptations of board games that I could play. I know there's some other alternatives, but most of them require you to find other willing people and coordinate that. So not a good way to start out, at least.
Yes, it is kind of tough. If you have a particular board game that you like that isn't the most popular board game in the world, trying to find other people who play it is pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even around the world,
most of them were not well known.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Even around the world, it's tough to find.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you're going around the world, then you have to deal with time zones and all that. No, so I had some digital adaptations that I found, so that you play against artificial intelligence, against AI. And I was streaming that at the beginning, but I stopped because I thought I was spending more time explaining to people what was happening than actually playing the game. And I found that a little unfortunate. Compared to some other games, there's genres where you don't really have to explain much. Yeah. I think if you play any kind of first-person shooter, most people understand that you're clicking on enemies and they die. If you're playing, so I'm trying to come up with some examples. You're playing something like real-time strategy. They see armies clashing into each other. Right. That makes sense. With board games, it's all very abstract, depending on the game. Like maybe I am playing something like Root, and there's cute animals going around the forest, but you still have to explain what exactly it is you're trying to accomplish. And for most people, it's not so interesting if you tell them, so if you move this here and follow that, and then there's these 5 rules, and then I get a point. And I need 30 of them.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Now, why didn't you just go ahead and do that then?
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And then you get backseat drivers for a game that they have known nothing about.
That has not happened, luckily, except the one time I did chess. Then you get all the backseaters.
Oh yeah. Everybody considers themselves, at least average at chess when they're probably not. I, I
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So I mean, how long have you played chess?
Oh, I am terrible at chess. I don't play a lot of it at all.
I used to be good enough to I would say maybe average, maybe a slight tick over because I could beat folks who are average at it, but anybody who had a real background in it, it was like, look at my hand over here, don't realize that I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with the other hand.
Fair enough. You used to play competition, or?
Oh, I used to back in the very old internet days, uh, when you didn't have graphics to play chess. I was playing on the text chess, which
Hmm.
is not easy to do because you have to get somebody else. And I was playing that, but I was very. I mean, I would beat the people at my level or downward, and the people above maybe I'd win one out of 15 or something like that. And they get so mad.
Okay, I see.
They they would get so mad. But I used the online the spoiler because that's basically what it was. If I could sometimes pull the upset, a spoiler upset, but other than that, I was pretty average. But it was fun, especially at the time when you didn't have pictures of knights and everything. You just had the letter K.
I see. Okay.
That was about
Okay,
it.
because I thought you were sending people over in text notation, but making a little text diagram, that sounds pretty fun too.
Oh yeah, except when the very rickety Usenet went down in the middle of the game.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, I was like, oh well, okay, I'll take that as a win. But those games are fun online, if you can find the right folks to do it. Chess, on the other hand, you got people backseating. Why did you move your rook? They're obviously doing this. And then you get somebody. This was a world champion move back in 1939. Why are you doing it this way? Uh,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, did you not study opening moves? No, I didn't read all these books. I'm sorry.
you only have a 32% chance of a draw if you do this. Oh, okay. I was just playing the game. It's the stuff that you do online. Are you at where you wanted to be at this point?
That's honestly a very difficult question to answer. I think in general, we are always pushed to do better, to especially when it comes to the numbers game, right?
Yeah.
Get more people to follow you, get more people to watch you.
Oh yeah.
But I think in general, yeah, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I'm doing the things I want to do. I have the look that I want, the styles there.
Hmm.
The story behind it's not so much, but that's okay. I've gotten to a point where the equipment I have available is fairly good,
Hmm.
so no problems with that.
Sounds good.
No, in general, I'm very happy
Yeah.
with where I'm at right now.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, when you got started with VTubing in the early days, uh, what brought you to it? What was the thing that said that brought you to wanting to use an avatar?
Okay, so my two inspirations for starting to YouTube was one of them was the main one is I saw a friend of mine doing it.
Mm,
So for context, I have never really watched corporate VTubers.
right.
I since then have, and I don't have much interest in it. But I had a friend who started doing this, and she was having a lot of fun with it. It looked really cool, and that inspired me to join as well. I thought, okay, with I'm already spending so much time on video games, I might as well try and do something more social with it,
Yeah.
something a little more productive. Turn it from a hobby that I know that's not really nice to say, but from a hobby that is there to kill time and to turn it into a hobby where I can also be more creative,
Hmm.
have the ability to use some of my skill sets. For context, I'm a software engineer as a trade, so that
Hmm.
really helps
Yeah.
for building some integrations.
Oh yeah.
And also along the way, had to learn a little bit about picture editing and video editing, those kind of things. So it was a way to turn gaming into something more than something to spend time with.
Yeah, yeah, and you're spending time still, but you get to spend time with other people while you're doing it, and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and you get to interact with folks. I saw a little bit of a stream you had very recently. You had Mel with a C on there, who I've talked to often. We just Mel and I just can't get a time together to do an interview. We're going to eventually.
I see.
Uh,
The time zone is rough. I
yeah.
had to, in order to make that work, I actually had to take half a day off.
Oh no, I'm sorry for that.
No, it's okay. It was
Yeah.
planned. I
Okay.
had to take it somewhere, and I made most of it.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. I don't want to take you away from work or anything like that, but I do appreciate it. The uh, Working with other folks in a game online for you, um, is that tough for you to do that and keep chat involved, or is it easy for you?
You mean, to
Collab
be more specific, do you mean um, just a cooperative game, or do you mean something more?
in a
Uh,
collaboration, um,
okay, any collaboration.
yeah.
It depends. It it really depends as well on how the other person handles this.
Hmm.
There are some people that prefer to talk a lot to their own chat. There are some that uh, address themselves less directly at specific people in the chat.
Hmm.
I find in general the most difficult point usually is if you is figuring out the dynamic. And
Hmm.
what I mean by this is I have worked with people, or well, played with people. That's probably a nicer way to put it. And they're very different from how they portray themselves when they're alone and when they're with someone. There's also a big element in there of awkwardness or anxiety, I would say,
Right.
because you're meeting someone for the first time, and then you're getting thrown onto the internet with them.
Right.
You don't always have the opportunity to talk or play a lot, spend a lot of time with them beforehand. And also sometimes, even if you do, it's not the same
No.
hanging with two or three than to be broadcasting.
Yeah. It just and
But to answer, oh yeah, sorry.
I'll just say sometimes no matter what you do, it just doesn't work very well. I mean, it just sometimes it just doesn't click. That's all there is to it.
That unfortunately is also sometimes the case.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Go ahead with
that's.
what you were going to say though.
Oh, I was going to say to answer the question more directly, how to handle chat. Most of the time, I try to be less direct. I try to address it the more as the amalgamation of people watching instead of being more direct to them.
Mm.
Because I know that the chat from the audiences from the other streamers will also be watching in.
Yep.
And if there are people that try to address correct questions more directly at me, I will usually answer them less or try to be more brief.
Yeah.
Because when you're by yourself, you can have an in-depth discussion.
Hmm.
If you're in a collab, you need to at least you need to either not do this or you need to pull in the other people that are with you and ask them how they feel about this.
Do a collaboration and not acknowledge the other people you're working with whatsoever.
That would be not great. I would not enjoy this very much.
I would be that would be certainly interesting to watch for a while. But
I think it'd be. I don't even know how this would work. Is it straight up muting the other person,
yeah, it's
and
just
but they can still the audience can still hear them?
yes, that's right.
I don't think that's great gameplay.
Have you tried it yet?
I don't think I want to, Eric.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't want to try either. That would be interesting for somebody else to do, not
Hmm.
particularly me. So with the games that you're playing online, the strategy type games, um, is are they basically turn based or are they full immersive where you have to keep attention to it at all times?
Okay, so it depends.
Mhm.
I know when you say strategy game, mostly people will think of either the turn-based, like Civilization,
Mhm.
or the real-time strategy like Command and Conquer. To
Right.
be more precise, I mostly play the automation games like Factorio or Satisfactory,
Oh yeah.
and less the. But I still say strategy games because there's some overlap. Uh, you can also say like what category does a city builder fall into?
Right.
So that's why I say. In terms of real-time strategy, I have not played this. I might in the future visit Command and Conquer, or
Okay.
at least some of the games in that series because I do like it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I've played Civilization yet, but in general, it's more the factory games when I say
Yeah.
strategy games.
So yeah, you still have to keep up with it in real time strategy type of things. And if
It depends really. I mean, the game will keep running while you're doing stuff, so you don't
mm,
need to pay too much attention, I'd say. But
yeah.
if you're not doing anything, well, it's not gonna advance. So.
Yeah, you need to keep working is the whole is one of the big points behind those games because you could have something running pretty well and then you're like, well, now you need to go to the next level, but you didn't have it set up to go to the next level, so now you have to restart again.
Mm-hmm.
And it and then or somebody you get a situation like if you have a game where somebody can attack you and start tearing down things, it can really bog it up. But those are fun games to play. And I bet how long do you do a session when you're in one of those games? I mean, they could really suck you in if you really wanted to.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know people that can play these things for hours on end. In general, I keep my streams to 3 hours, 4 maybe, but not often.
Mm.
That's usually so. My biggest constraint is I'm full-time employed, so I cannot spend. I cannot sacrifice all my sleep for the sake of streaming. That's
Stupid,
not a great idea.
stupid real life getting in the way.
Yeah, I mean, I have tried, and it's not a winning plan. Don't do it for anyone listening. Oh,
This the stream is just you humming softly to yourself at that point.
oh, that's something else as well, which is the um with those type of games, you do need to keep the attention going, and it is kind of easy to get sucked in and
Mm,
not say anything. That's not great either.
yeah. So with
But
those,
yeah, that's also why I try to keep a maximum length on it.
yeah. Well, with yeah, and yeah, you did keep the audience's attention too. Um, do they sometimes start backseating you on those games?
Uh, it depends really.
Yeah.
Some people are really fanatical about these games,
Mm,
and yes, they will give suggestions.
mm.
Uh, and most of the time, I will kindly thank them. Just keep doing what I'm doing.
Through clenched teeth. Thank you very much. I'm doing fine.
Yeah, I know the games are usually all about being the most efficient you can, and I know I'm not squeezing out those last percents, but yeah, that you have to accept that if you want
You,
to watch it.
you're only 98% efficiency. You can still get if you cut this corner. Thank you. I'm doing fine. Nothing's on fire.
Yeah, your your opinion has been noted.
Mute. Mute them down. uh,
Yeah,
and,
mentally.
yes, mentally mute them down. Try to ignore them as much as possible. But um, so the model building when you do that online, um, is it a different audience than when you have the games going?
So there's in audience, I would say there's a core audience of mine, which will always be there because it's me.
Yeah,
That's
which is great.
I think that's true for everyone.
Yes, that's what you really want.
And then, yeah, exactly. Those are the people that will keep coming back. They're there because it's you. They're usually the ones that interact the most.
Hmm.
They're the ones that I speak to the most because, well,
Yeah.
if they always show up,
Well,
they're usually the ones that you talk the most to.
right.
And then there are people that show up just for the game. But for the model building, so yes, it's quite a community on Twitch. So there are some people that show up just for the model building.
Mm.
Uh, there's a lot. I've noticed there's a lot more people that come in as well because they will say, "Oh, I was watching this other model builder and they mentioned you," or sometimes they get attracted in because unlike games you have categories, model building you don't, but then there are people scrolling and they see, "Oh, you're building this specific one,"
Right.
and they come to watch for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of like for a content creator, I imagine it's a little bit like fishing, where you try to bring people in, but then you got to hook them to stay afterwards.
yeah.
And it sounds like you've got a pretty good setup where people are coming in to watch and they're sticking around after a while, and you've got a pretty good base going.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for everyone who shows in, but especially to those that show up
Yeah.
more often. I don't know if I could tell you if I have a really good hook, but I do my best, and I'm pretty sure everyone out there also does the same.
Well, you get one of those that are like explosive when they get to it. They like end up with like 25 hooks and they can't get away. Well, really, it's drawing people in, and they come back because of the person doing the streaming, and that they enjoy the personality and hanging around them, and the welcoming, and sometimes the chat has something to do with that too. So you want to have a good atmosphere as far as that goes. Was that tough to do, or did that kind of fall easy for you?
Building the right atmosphere. I still struggle with this. I'll
Mm,
be very honest.
mm,
It's not easy. It the community, I would say mine is not so large, so it can be a little difficult to really get some discussion going. I don't take it personally. People have things to do. They're not obligated to talk.
mm.
But if it was for building a welcoming chat, I would say it's still going to mostly fall on me.
Mhm.
I'm not someone who can rely on my chats to maintain the discussion if somebody new comes in, and I don't expect them to either. It's not their job.
Right.
It's my job to make a welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's going pretty good for you. I mean, that's you can tell by talking to you how much you're enjoying this, and it seems to be right where you're enjoying doing it. Have you gotten some burnout on occasion, or is it something you've been able to keep fresh?
It has happened to me
Mm,
several times,
mm,
not because of the streaming. This was due to work.
mm.
Um, so it was very hard to combine both. And I don't really want to go too much into this because it's not a very positive story. But let's say, to keep it short, let's say we as humans we only have so much uh, energy in one day,
Right.
and when one thing is sapping most of it, it's kind of hard to maintain enough for the other things that you need to do, including the streaming.
Oh yeah.
And the I got into a bit of a vicious loop where I couldn't dedicate myself enough to the streaming,
Right.
so the quality of the stream dropped, and then you feel bad about yourself because you're not feeling that you're putting enough effort in.
Yeah.
And it got to the point, and it has happened several times where it got to the point that I had to step away for a bit.
Yeah. Well, at least you recognize it though, and you take action for it, and come back to it. That's natural human things. It's not something that you can just not do. It's going to happen to you. And when you get older, it happens a lot more. but
Yeah, but
really, it's as long as you know what's going on and you keep a handle on it and you know when to let some steam out, and it. I mean, it sounds like you're pretty aware of that for yourself.
yes, and I'm also very happy to say I'm in a much better place right now. So
Good, excellent, excellent. Now, with that place and with your background, are there times when you're starting a game or playing a game that you end up looking at it a little differently because of your background with software and programming? Do you look and say, "Well, I could have done that a lot better"? Is there a different way you look at games because of that?
I would say only if they break,
Mm.
in the sense of encountering a bug. That's when I would think, okay, I see. I think I know what they did wrong here. But in general, no. There's some elements to it. I'm not really well versed in game development, but you can definitely tell I have a little bit of experience in it, and there's definitely sometimes you can tell how things were put together, or you recognize. Sometimes you can tell certain assets that were used, so you can tell that they bought something instead of making it themselves, which is perfectly fine. It
Right.
happens.
Right.
But my actual perspective on the game, no, not really.
Mm.
Unless the mistake is so egregious that I think, uh, yeah, that's not great programming right there.
Just kind of sit there and stare at the screen like, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah,
And oh, look,
ye-
the game crashed.
yeah. Send them a strongly worded letter.
It says, I could have done this in my sleep. Send it to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good that that with this you're able to keep an enjoyment and on a certain level because um I would think, and I probably would have done this if I had that type of background. I'd be looking at it and thinking what I would do on if this was my program. I do this with sports now, and in a way because I used to do a lot of sports stuff in the radio, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'll be watching a American football game or baseball, and I'll be doing the play by play in my head of the game because
Okay.
I did so many of them, I'm immediately fall right into it, and instead of just sitting and enjoying what I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, the break will be coming up here in a little bit. And like,
Okay,
no,
I see.
get that out of my head. I want to watch the game and enjoy myself. Um,
Y-
so you're able to separate that pretty well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not thinking when I'm playing a game about how I would have put it together, because most of it will be design,
Mm,
and that is not my strong point. So I'm not gonna sit there and think, well, this storyline isn't good, or I don't like how this character is written,
mm,
because that's something I cannot do better myself.
mm.
So just go along with it.
Yeah.
You can still have an opinion, of course. Sometimes some storylines are written better than others, but you roll with it. And
Some
if it's a bit like the bugs. If it's that egregiously bad, it means that we won't be coming back. That's all.
let's face it. There are some storylines that are just really horrible.
Yeah,
But the game is
that's
still
true.
fun sometimes when that happens, and you can get if you like. It's like when you're watching a movie that has a lot of stuff blowing up. You're not watching it for Shakespeare dialogue. You're watching it to have stuff blow up. If you're playing
No,
the
that's very true.
yeah
That's
uh,
very true, Eric. When I see directed by Michael Bay,
yeah
I know why I'm going to watch it.
that's right. I'm not there for the wonderful long teary scene between the mother and their lost child. I'm there to see them blow things up.
I'm here for the giant punching robots.
That's right. I want to see that. I want to see robots. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's why they're there. And sometimes that's why games are there too. I think sometimes people lose that and they lose kind of the enjoyment of the game in the first place. And I'm glad that that people that there's still people who remember that they're still just playing a game, no matter if they're online or whether they're sitting at home, with a cup of cocoa and a blanket around them. They're still, or maybe they're online with a blanket around them. I don't know. People use avatars, but you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want. Is that something that drew you to the VTubing aspect? Is the fact you could use an avatar and basically be as comfortable as you want while doing it?
Um, I would not say comfort, but being able to choose the way you look was a very large part of it.
Mm,
Um, I was I was somewhat concerned about anonymity, especially because I don't really want this linked to my day job.
Right.
Mostly, not because it would get me into trouble, but I would rather avoid the question.
Yeah.
But that definitely drew me a lot to it, which is that you can choose what you look like. And I really enjoy that part. I enjoy the evolution as well,
Yeah.
in that you can change up your looks. And I know a lot of other streamers that have significantly evolved. They're always coming out with version 2, 3, 4, 5 of themselves. They're changing
2.9.
themes. Yeah, 2.95, where it added being able to give you a thumbs up. That
Yes.
happens too. I've seen it.
We added one
Uh,
feather to the bird. 9.3.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just the tiniest update.
Yeah. But again, it's all personalized, hopefully, or it's just to the point where they're comfortable playing. Now, with an audience, how comfortable are you with, when you are playing a game in front of people, which is a lot different than being at home at 3 o'clock in the morning, um, just trying to entertain yourself. Was it easy
Hmm.
for you to entertain other people while playing a game, or did you have to learn that?
It was very much a learning experience.
Mm.
I don't have much recordings from the beginning when I started out,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a clip here and there, and they were really rough. It was not good. Oh, it's very much a learning experience, and I think you know that as well, being
Yeah.
a radio host or former radio host yourself. That
Oh
probably the first broadcasts you did were
yeah.
nowhere as good
Yeah.
as the later ones.
Yeah. It
You
was.
need to learn in the beginning when your audience is small. Most of the learning is going to be, okay, what can I talk about? Usually, in the beginning, you'll start out with uh, describing what's happening in the game, but you need to step up sooner or later to more general topics or talking about yourself.
Yeah.
Because the play by play kind of thing does not last long, you need to fill a lot. You will have a lot of dead air if that's all you do.
Right.
And
Right.
then later on, once the audience starts expanding, that's when you need to start learning how to address them, how to respond to them correctly,
Yeah.
how to engage them, asking the right questions to draw them in, responding to the right questions, because some questions are more open ended than others.
Yeah.
Some people ask you questions that push the conversation in directions that you don't want, that can be quite awkward or that can be very personal. And you need to also learn how to deflect that and steer the conversation to where you want.
Yeah. When they start asking for your credit card number, it's a good idea to not continue that chat. Unless they're sending you
No.
money, which of course is always a good thing. But
If they're sending me money, I'd still rather not have their credit card number.
well, it does become a skill that you develop a little bit as you go. But it also helps if you have kind of a pre lean toward being open to talking with people. And is that something that you find easy to do in off the screen, or is that something that you had to learn while coming on screen?
It was very much something I had to learn
Mm,
online.
mm,
I'm usually a quite reserved person. I don't really reveal a lot about myself.
yeah.
So I definitely had to learn how to change that, because otherwise we'd be still sitting in silence. And that's not great.
Oh, oh, the history of painful interviews has come up in the back of my mind. Folks, you should do some interviews sometimes, especially with young sports people, where the answers were all one word, and that will drive you up a tree. I've got you have a 20-minute show, and all of your questions are answered in the first 30 seconds. So now time to
Mm.
stretch, time to stretch. But that is not the case with you, Jay. It's an absolute pleasure talking with you. And have you got any big plans coming up here in the near future?
So one thing I can reveal, because I have shown it on social media, is that I will be working on a new model. That's the
Ah,
next big plan.
yes. We were just talking about
So
that. So
yeah, we were talking about the V234. Yeah, that's going to be the next big plan from me.
yeah, yeah. Well, how long have you been working on the new one?
Okay, so not very long. What I have right now is there's 2 outfits I want to do because that corresponds to the 2 I have right now. One of them, I have the reference ready. The other one, the artist I'm working with is working on finalizing the second outfit. And then I have to find someone who knows Live 2D. And after that, it's the rigging. So we're very early on.
Yes. But that's going to be happening sooner than not sooner. We're going to be seeing.
Let's hope so.
We're going to be seeing a new version coming up here very soon. But for me, it's an absolute honor and wonderful talking with you. And I hope you keep in touch with me and let me know what's going on with your establishment, your speakeasy establishment, and everything that's going on with you, Jay. I thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Eric. Thank you for inviting me and for the discussion. It was lovely to be here.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.